hello everyone, and welcome to the NFL version of Proline, direct from Las Vegas, the gaming capital of the world. It's week 10 of the NFL season. I'm John Cranton, joined by Las Vegas handicappers Hollis Barnhart and Zach Simony. Going to take a look at a couple of upcoming games. First, to tell you what we have going on for the weekend. Harvard, since August 1st, 55-33 run, and on Sunday you hit that big one, that AFC rivalry game of the year. Wasn't even close.
Well, games of the year aren't supposed to be close. In fact, that by definition, just looking at the score, if I had told everybody, hey, look at one score on the whole end of the results for the end of Sunday and say, which one do you think was my AFC rival game? I guarantee your eyes had to go down to that Miami-San Diego game, 37-0. And 55-33. Let's talk about that for a second. Forget the juice. Let's just do some easy math. All the dime players are up over $20,000. And that's if you bet just a dime every game. Well, I can tell you right now, if you were up almost $20,000 going into that AFC rival game after seeing and having the confidence and getting on that ground floor, the foundation, you're up over 20 dimes, I guarantee you, you're going to be betting more than $1,000 on an AFC rival game of the year. You probably would have been putting 3, 4, 5,000 on that game. And coming up this week, it's funny because you know what? I had a lot of people contacting me and stuff like that for, whether they had a request, they had a question, they had a thank you or an FU, whatever it was. I answer all things. And a couple guys, they were talking about, hey, you know what, with this bowl committee and stuff like that, can we keep it inside the top 25? And just by chance, I had a game that's in the top 25, both teams, and it's going to be my top 25 game of the year. But they said, can you put together maybe a little package? Now, here's the package I put together. It'll be on the screen probably sometime this week. Alabama, LSU. What a matchup that is. That's one of my 5 games. Ohio State, Michigan State. Notre Dame, Arizona State. Oregon, Utah, and Kansas State, TCU. I'm featuring those 5 games. 5 games. It's called 5 for 5 for $55. $55 will get you those 5 winners, including my top 25 ranked teams game of the year.
All right, and speaking of red hot runs, Zach, Saturday college football for you have been very good, 25-17. NFL has been even better than that, 28-7-2 NFL run. Had another winning weekend on Sunday, sizzling run. And how can folks get aboard for more of those 4-packs you're offering?
You know what, all of us have been doing well. Had fun on this show all season. We're at that midpoint, and some people trying to make the decision of what they want to do. Get on board with us. We're doing well. We're going to keep it going. Let's get you some holiday money just around the corner. Black Friday in 3 weeks. And, of course, the main holiday in about 6 to 8 weeks with Christmas. So let's get you some holiday money. We're going to keep our percentages up. And let's not forget, in about a week and a half to 2 weeks, we're going to have 4 prime sports going on. College basketball, which is my number 1 sport. I know I'm doing well in the NFL and college football right now. But college basketball, you will see sky-high value with new teams, incoming freshmen. Jay Billis did a profile article for ESPN.com 4 or 5 months ago. The highest transfer rate ever in college basketball history. I think it's over 380 players that rotated in and out of teams. So you're going to have some of those sitting out, and you're going to have some of those coming right in with the eligible transfer pass that they get. But college basketball, gold mine sport. Get on board with us, and we're going to talk a little bit here about college football and NFL for this week.
All right, Jim Feist had a nice weekend, 7-2 in the NFL, including a late-breaking information play. That was the Miami Dolphins, 37-0. Hollis, I don't believe he got that information from you, but you guys were on the same game.
Great minds.
Think alike. He also had another rare online high roller release. Didn't have one a week ago, but he had one Sunday. That was the Ravens Steelers over the total, so he's now 4-0 with these online high roller plays. Another one will be available Sunday. Plus, he had his Monday Night Football total of the year. That was the Colts Giants over. Another high roller play, as well as a college conference game of the year at jimfeist.com. All right, guys, let's get into some NFL futures here. We're at the midpoint of the season, and got some odds that are out there for teams that might be in the Super Bowl. And Zach, I know you've seen some potential value plays as well.
Yeah, well, when we talked about segments to talk about this week, I really wanted to talk about futures. This is a great time to get in because it's going to start to fluctuate rapidly. Obviously, we're seeing a team, New England Patriots, just 2 weeks ago, they were sky high. 3-4 weeks ago, I don't even know what it was then, but right now they're sitting at 7.5 to 1 just to win the Super Bowl, and that was 12 to 1 before they beat the Denver Broncos at home. So New England Can they finish off the chapter? They've won 5 games in a row. They've won on an average of 18 points per game, and they've really got things clicking right now. But can they keep it going? That's the question with Tom Brady. And a theme that I've talked about several times this year in my blogs, different podcasts I've been on, is this is the year of the repeat champion. You saw it with UConn in college basketball. They won in 1999. They won in 2011. They got it again. And I think they even won in 2001. It's just off the top of my head there. Then you had Bubba Watson, repeat champion in the Masters. He was a 20-1. I remember that because I bet Henrik Stenson. That was a foolish bet, but I should have bet Bubba Watson, who was 20-1 to win that. Of course, you've got the San Antonio Spurs, dynasty repeat champion, and they were 5-1 in Game 3 when they were down or Game 4 when they were down Dallas Mavericks, 2-1. I was lucky enough to get on that, and then San Francisco Giants during their middle of the July torture slump. I don't even know what their odds were, but they came back up, and look at it now. Will we see a repeat champion? I profiled my article 2 weeks ago on this where I talked about Pittsburgh Steelers, and now they're rolling again. Now they're 27-1. Ben Roethlisberger's thrown 12 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks, hottest quarterback in the league. And he's got these young studs at wide receiver. Antonio Brown leading the league in receptions and yardage, right there with touchdowns. I think Randall Cobb's up on him by 1, but he's right there, and they're just slinging the ball around. They don't even have to run the ball with Le'Veon Bell and their other tailback. They're just slinging the ball around. Their defense, sometimes you don't need a strong defense to win. You just need to ride the hot offense, and Pittsburgh would be another team I would profile at 27-1. Baltimore Ravens, another team that's done it before, 2000, and then just a couple of years ago, 2012, they got it done. Not really a hot team right now, but one to keep an eye on. And this team I dogged all year, but suddenly with their win against the Panthers, I wouldn't mind dabbling a little bit at 17-1 on the New Orleans Saints. I think the NFC is weak. I believe the AFC will win the Super Bowl, but the NFC is wide open. You got Green Bay, probably the best team right now, and then Arizona Cardinals, who I'll touch on here briefly. But Arizona's won some games that is really questionable still. They had a game against the Raiders. They played against Derek Carr. They barely beat them. They barely beat the Washington Redskins with Kirk Cousins at quarterback. And they've had some favorable situations. They played the Giants, who obviously are showing they're not a good team. And then this past week, they got to play against Brandon Whedon. So they're winning games, but I think they're going to be similar to the Kansas City Chiefs of a year ago. They're going to have a great regular season. Then the playoffs are going to come, and they're going to be outed in that first game they play, whether if it's a home game or if it's in the wild card matchup, but I think they're going to be outed. But they could have value if they can get in the playoffs because they have that goal of getting to the Super Bowl, which would be in Glendale, Arizona. So if they imagine this, if they get the bye, which they have a chance right now, but if they can keep it going, they can get a bye, play their divisional game at home, and they might even be at home again. They could have 3 straight going to the Super Bowl at home. So yeah, sitting there right now at 11.5-1. Who knows? But right now, top team I would put on there, if I had to pick one from each conference, New England Patriots 7.5-1, who I liked 2 to 3 weeks ago, and then long shot in the NFC because I think it's wide open there. I would take the New Orleans Saints 17-1 because they have the best route to go in their division. I said last week on the show, even though it was the best bet loser, that whoever wins that game is going to win the division. So the Saints did it, and now I think that's the team with value.
Yeah, and the Broncos are still favored ahead of the Patriots, and we're going to know in the next couple of weeks about that number 1 seed because the Patriots just started a stretch playing 5 consecutive really difficult games. Broncos kind of have an easy schedule down the stretch, so I still think they have a good shot to get that number 1 seed. Harvard, you were with the Miami Dolphins on Sunday. Are they one of your teams that might go be a long shot to run the table here?
Well, I wouldn't say that they're one of my teams. I do like Miami, obviously. The thing I like about Miami is it allows, I think, Denver to get home field advantage all the way. New England still has to play them. In fact, New England, every time they tie up with Miami on the win-loss record, Miami has the tiebreaker for that, because they beat them there. And Buffalo could give New England a couple tough game or one more tough game. They're, like you said, the schedule is not favorable for New England to go all the way. Now, let's assume that they do go all the way and they meet Denver. Well, I like Denver to win the AFC. There's no doubt about it because I'm counting on them being in Denver. The only thing I don't like is that thing with Manning can't win the big games. Well, he won last year the AFC Championship game, and it could be a rematch. They beat New England. But the cold weather, who knows what it's going to be out west during January. If it's really, really cold, he seems to, I don't know, he doesn't do as well as if it's really, really warm. Now, let's go over to the other side of the ocean and look at the Dallas Cowboys for those Cowboy fans. I'm really ticked off that Jerry Jones is taking Tony Romo. If his team can't beat Jacksonville Jaguars, no matter who the quarterback is, in order to give some rest to Tony Romo. Have you ever been on an 8-hour flight with a bad back? I can't even go from here to LA on a 45-minute flight with a bad back. And I think that's ridiculous because all they have to do, leave them home for a week, and then they get a bye week for a week. So he'd have 2 weeks of just lounging around the pool and doing his little workouts, rehabs, and things like that. So that tells you a lot about what Jerry Jones thinks of his team, that they're not capable of beating Jacksonville. I mean, that sends a horrible message. As far as the NFC North, I have to give a little check mark next to Green Bay. But you know what? You're going to be very competitive. They just had Adrian Peterson plead for a lesser than a felony, so it's just a misdemeanor. I don't know if he'll get suspended by the NFL, but they could throw a wrench in things. You always got a strong Detroit team. You never know where they're going to show up. The Chicago Bears, I think they play better from behind, and when it doesn't matter and they know they're out of the playoffs, who knows what will happen. They can knock off a team anywhere. But I'll put a little check mark next to Green Bay, but I don't think they're going to go all the way. The team I think that's going to get there, obviously, is going to be Philadelphia. I don't think there'll be a contest there. I love the fact that Sanchez is going to be running that Chip Kelly offense. I mean, first of all, he's just as good a passer as Nick Foles, and secondly, he's a lot more mobile. I would worry more about Nate Allen being out or somebody like that. You know, you got to keep that defense strong when you're playing in the wintertime. So my 2 matches for the NFC is going to be Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals, one of the strongest teams in the NFC. They're exactly where they should be. What they do is they pretty much play a vanilla defense going in the first half. If you ever want to make a lot of money, go bet them on the second half and look at the adjustments that they make. That's why they're winning all these little close games. Yeah, they're catching up. Maybe they should have played. Maybe they're playing to the level of competition. But Zach also mentioned something. You know, he said that the end of the rainbow is that dream game where your Super Bowl's in your home field, in your home city. What about the start? What about how they ended last year? It started last year when they got left out of the playoffs, and they had that all fall or spring and all summer and all this fall, where all they've said is we are not going to get left out of the playoffs. I mean, these guys are on a mission. They were 10-6 last year. There was teams that were horrible that were ahead of them, and they've had this mission not to miss it. Well, they're at the top of the toughest division in football. They're steamrolling right now. I like their schedule. San Francisco isn't playing the way they should be. Seattle's not playing the way they should be. So let's put a little pencil mark. When it comes down to Denver, New England, I'm picking Denver. When it comes down to Arizona and Philadelphia, I'm taking a little mark on Arizona. And if you can find a place that gets that combination, Denver versus Arizona, and bet it today, you can get plus 1880. So there you go. You throw a little 3 spot on them, and all of a sudden you make for 300. You could make $5,000, and all they have to do is get into the Super Bowl. You don't even have to pick the winner yet.
That was one of the teams that spurned Peyton Manning spurned in the Arizona Cardinals a couple years ago.
Right.
And one other thing, the start of this year, in order, because I think Arizona knew that they're going to be playing Denver. You know, now this is a rematch. It should be a rematch of Week 6 when they went up to Denver after the bye week. Well, the Arizona Cardinals, they hired as a quarterback consultant the quarterback coach that Manning had from the day his plane landed in Indianapolis, and he was with him for 10 straight years. Then when Manning took a hike over to Denver, they let him go. Well, they hired this guy. He knows everything. He knows more about Manning than anybody, and I think that's another thing that points this Arizona team in the right direction. They're giving everybody all the tools needed, including the stadium for the the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I've never seen a quieter 7-1 team in NFL history. They're amazing. They're a
It's
terrific
great.
team.
Keep them under the radar.
Yeah.
No pressure. Just keep them doing a job. And like I said, focused from last year's start of the playoffs when they weren't there all the way to the Super Bowl this year when they will be there.
Yeah, I forgot about Manning going to Arizona too. Can you imagine him and Larry Fitzgerald and the defense they have right now? My goodness, what a juggernaut they could have. When I look at some value, if somebody told me right now, Steelers 49ers will be your Super Bowl this year, I wouldn't see that as shocking. I think these are pretty talented teams. And yet, look at the odds on them right now. Steelers 27-1. Yeah, I can see them getting there. A hot quarterback. He already has 2 Super Bowl trophies. I like the young defensive talent they have. They've had some mess ups at time, but it's a lot of depth and talent, and they're certainly playing great right now. 12 touchdowns, 0 picks the last couple of weeks for Big Ben. And then the 49ers, boy, they're also 28-1. I'm not going to give up on this team yet. Had a very shaky start here, 4-4. But it's still a very deep roster. I love what they've done in the draft the last 2 years. They've stockpiled a lot of draft picks. That has really helped their depth. They got some guys coming back down the stretch. And Zach was talking about repeat champions. Remember the New York Giants football team? They have a pair of titles the last 8 years. Well, one of those years, I think it was 2011, they were a 500 team like the 49ers are later in the year, like 7-7, and then they got hot. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the 49ers at 28-1 with all their talent. And after all, they've been to 3 straight NFC title games. Tremendous value right now to get back in the run. All right, let's take a look.
First of all, how is San Francisco going to get there? They can't get there by winning their division, and the way their record is going, I don't think they're even going to make it as a wild card.
I know they've got to start moving fast, but like those Giant teams was 7-7 one of those years, and people are saying, well, they're a long shot to make the playoffs.
But can they get in as a wild card? Because really, I don't think they can be the NFC Division Championship.
No, that looks like it's out right now. But we got second half of the season to go. Anything can happen.
It could definitely happen if the NFC North only has the division title winner, as it looks like it's heading to be with Green Bay.
Well, a lot of this starts with this 49ers playing the Saints this week.